Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's Rantoinette. Sorry, it's been a long time. I had a pretty rough week. I don't want to get into too much detail about it, but let's put it this way. I had all of the sick. The fever, the chills, the aches, the creaks, the just straight up suffer and shoot me now kind of feeling. But I am about 80% back and it feels like a miracle. But anyway, again, apologies for not being able to put out anything this week. It was completely unavoidable. And of course, it was one hell of a week to miss being able to go through the news because there was just so goddamn much news. It's unreal how much shit happened in 1 week. And honestly, a lot of it is good. I'm shocked. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that we actually had some good news. Tuesday was pretty fucking epic. We started off with a death of one of the most awful, horrible people in the country, Dick Cheney. And no, like Graham Plattner said, no, we do not have to lionize the dead or not speak ill of the dead. Honey, Dick Cheney was awful. He was a horrible human being. And honestly, I'm kind of glad he's gone. It could not happen to a worse person. The dude shot somebody in the face and that guy apologized to him. I mean, what are we talking about? One of the worst people. He made Trump possible. The shit that he did, lying us into the Iraq war, just straight up awful human being, responsible for at least minimum 500,000 dead people, not to mention the millions of people that were displaced due to that war on terror. And now we have Donald Trump fighting against quote unquote narco terrorists. So Dick Cheney made what Donald Trump is doing possible. Dick Cheney walked so Donald Trump could fly. And now we're dealing with all the repercussions for that. But that was just the beginning of the week. That was the first little bit of good news. And then, of course, Tuesday came rolling around and Democrats basically swept across the nation. I think it was elections in 39 states. And to top it off, Zoran wins here in New York. So it's fantastic news and we're really happy about that. It was a routing and the Republicans are squeaking from the freaking. Man, they were not happy. Of course, screaming and yelling about Democrats being communists, especially Zoran Mamdani. And now that the election's over with, they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. They won a couple of elections in a couple of blue states and, whatever, we're moving on. Don't ask him if he's hurt, dog. They are hurt. And when you got Donald Trump out there talking about affordability, folks, that's a new word I'm hearing about these. I mean, it's kind of a new word. I've never heard it. Affordability. Yeah, man, you're a billionaire. You've never had an affordability problem in your fucking life. So just to watch them squirm is pretty awesome. Watching Sean Hannity talk about how his friends are calling him up, saying that they're really sad that Zoran won and they're thinking about leaving New York as if Zoran's going to make them pray 5 times a day. Just get over yourselves. Pay the 2% more in tax and shut the fuck up. You've got millions of dollars. You can afford it. Now, speaking of the income inequality issue and Donald Trump bitching and complaining, by the way, in public, Donald Trump is calling Zoran a communist and he's awful and evil and dangerous and he's an Islamic Marxist, Leninist, communist, yada, yada. But behind closed doors, Donald Trump is like, the guy's got something. I mean, he's got some charisma, baby. As the kids say, he's got the riz. I tell you, he's got the riz. So even Donald Trump has some respect for game, recognizes game, I suppose. So, but speaking of Donald Trump, he has been playing this Sophie's choice with the government shutdown. The government shutdown is basically, Democrats are basically saying, hey, we want you to keep the ACA subsidies in place so people's health insurance doesn't double, triple, or quadruple. Who can afford to pay $2,000 a month for their fucking health insurance? This is batshit. And that's the only ask that the Democrats asked for this. And of course, nobody's playing ball. All the Republicans are on vacation. At least the Republican Congress is on vacation. mostly because of the shutdown and also because nobody wants to have the Epstein documents come out, because then Mike Johnson's going to have to seat Grijalva in Arizona, and nobody on the Republican side wants that because Donald Trump doesn't want that. Donald Trump holds the Republican Congress's balls in a little shot glass. At least Mike Johnson's balls in a little shot. It would have to be a little shot glass. We're talking about Mike Johnson here. Fucking gay elf on the shelf that is Mike Johnson. So Donald Trump has got them boxed in. They're not able to make any decisions anymore. It's basically Donald Trump is king and whatever he says goes. And they don't want the government shutdown to end. I don't know if it's even going to end after Thanksgiving. We're already looking at it going through Thanksgiving. I think we're on right now, as of today, I think we're on like day 40 of the government shutdown. And Donald Trump does not want the Democrats to get a win. Even if it's just for the ACA, Donald Trump doesn't want him to have a win. So they're playing this Sophie's Choice thing of, you don't want to open up the government, you don't want to bargain. Here's my bargain. Either you open up the government or I'm going to starve 40 million people who are on SNAP. On the same day, he throws a fucking Great Gatsby party at Mar-a-Lago, where all of the nastiest, scummiest, rich douchebags are dressed in flapper gear and drinking their Cosmopolitans, while 40 million Americans are not going to get any SNAP benefits and not going to be able to eat. And I broke down the numbers a little bit. On average, the normal SNAP benefit is $186 a month, which factors into like $6 a day. $6 a day. And on top of that, there is like $6 billion set aside for a rainy day fund. And Donald Trump's like, we're not going to do that either. And then a judge, actually a couple of judges, said, no, dude, you've got to dip into that $6 billion until the government is open back up. And of course, Donald Trump has got on every government website, it's the Democrats' fault. It's all their fault. The reason why you're not getting your SNAP benefits is because of the Democrats. The reason why your health care is going up is because of the Democrats. If you look on the White House webpage, they got fucking pictures of Hunter Biden in a bathtub with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, saying he's hanging out in the Lincoln bedroom doing fucking cocaine. I mean, Hatch Act, anybody? Jesus fucking Christ. But nevertheless, Donald Trump is not Mr. I negotiate, I'm the deal maker. He's not even trying to make a fucking deal. So 2 judges told him, no, dude, you've got to dip into that emergency fund to fund SNAP. Even if it's just half the amount that they normally get, you've got to dip in. Even though, by the way, that $6 billion in the emergency fund, that's not the only one. The FDA has like a $20 billion fund that they're not even fucking talking about right now. But Donald Trump saying no. And then he decides, I'm going to appeal it to the fucking Supreme Court. And of course, the goddamn Supreme Court, they're cucked too. Donald Trump has all of their nuts in a vice. And they said, yeah, it's perfectly legal for Donald Trump to withhold SNAP benefits. So either open up the government and we're going to cut all your health care, or keep the government shut down and we're going to make sure that all your poor people starve. I mean, this is a Sophie's Choice here, man. It's Sophie's Choice that Meryl Streep would not be able to fucking deal with. But here we are in the year of our Lord 2025 with Donald Trump, the dictator in chief. Oh, Jesus Christ. By the way, this week would have been a jobs report, but since the Bureau of Labor Statistics is shut down, I mean, it doesn't really matter because Donald Trump's got one of his guys in there. But since that office is shut down due to the government shutdown, nobody's going to know. But they've had, I believe, I'm trying to remember the name of the company that did it kind of extant. They just did it on their own. And they were estimating up to 1 million jobs have been lost since Donald Trump took office. 1 million jobs. Just insanity. The jobs president. The economy president. The idea that Republicans are good for the economy has been proven over and over and over again to be untrue. Ronald Reagan, 8 years of him, economic crash. George W. Bush, 7 years of him, economic crash. Under Donald Trump, first term, the economy was doing great until COVID. Honey, we factor that in. Donald Trump doesn't get credit for his first 3 years and not get credit for the fourth one. You know what I mean? And here we are 1 year into Donald Trump's presidency. And here we are 1 year into Donald Trump's presidency, and the economy is just taking a big old shit on the rug. It is awful out there, man. Inflation is going up. Unemployment's up. Jobs are down. We're looking at stagflation, not to mention all the wars and the nonsense and the ICE and the Gestapo on the streets and Donald Trump talking about ripping up voter rolls and sending in the National Guard into major cities to police the vote. They're doing everything they can because they know their policies fucking suck and nobody likes them. And this election that just happened proved to them. I mean, some of the elections were astounding. I believe there's a couple of counties in Georgia that went 47 points over for Donald Trump in 2024. They lost. They went a 50-point swing the other way because of all the AI shenanigans that are going on. They're putting up those AI centers everywhere. And they're, of course, they're all getting tax abatements and they're using up all of the electricity and the water and everybody's electrical bills are going up. One of the reasons why the governor of New Jersey won is because of a lot of AI facilities going on there. It was an astounding clapback to the Republican Party. And they know that the next election in 2026 is not looking good for them. So they are doing everything they can. They got Supreme Court trying to repeal voting rights. They want to get rid of as many people off the voter rolls as possible. They're doing everything they can to steal this fucking election before the election actually happens. And the Senate, the Republican Senate, they're in Washington. They don't have to go home on vacation like the Congress does because of Grijalva, the Epstein files, and all that stuff. So they get to be here. And the Republican senators voted down a resolution to block the military attack on Venezuela. So it came to the floor to, hey, what Donald Trump is doing, blowing up all these boats in the Caribbean and some of them in the Pacific that have nothing to do with Venezuela. By the way, Venezuela, there's no fentanyl coming out of there. None. Zero. Big fucking donut. Most of the drugs that come into this country are either coming from Mexico or Colombia, which, by the way, Donald Trump wants to bomb Mexico. He wants to bomb Colombia. He wants to bomb Venezuela. He actively wants Venezuela. And we all know it's because of the fucking oil. But Donald Trump is going on this whole narco-terrorist thing, and it's absolute horseshit. Anyway, it made it to the floor to, hey, we got to stop this unconstitutional, against the Geneva Convention, attacking boats without stopping them to do any verification of whether or not they have drugs on board, just blowing them out of the fucking water. And of course, the Republican senators voted it down because they don't have any balls either. Donald Trump has got those in his medicine cabinet. It's fucking crazy, man. By the way, the number, just to switch topics here and go on ICE. ICE, man, ICE has not been going hard enough in Donald Trump's opinion. So now he wants the Border Patrol, who are even more fascistic, and they are supposed to operate within 100 miles of the border. And Bovino, the guy that has the Nazi haircut, and there's a picture of him online wearing a long black leather coat, looking like he is auditioning for a part for an SS commander in a World War II movie. He is the embodiment of the SS guy. And a judge told him, hey man, you got to stop gassing people. You're gassing kids going on Halloween parties. And they're throwing tear gas in the middle of these neighborhoods, arresting guys on bicycles, throwing them down, Americans. By the way, 170, I believe is the number, 170 Americans have verifiably been detained by ICE. Anyway, Donald Trump says that ICE is not going hard enough. Stephen Miller says ICE is not going hard enough. Honestly, this is all about Stephen Miller. Donald Trump doesn't really give a shit, except on that interview he did on 60 Minutes where he says, no, I don't think they've gone far enough. Even though we've seen all the videos of all the nasty, crazy ass shit where they're slamming their cars into other people, dragging them out onto the concrete, Americans being arrested and detained and held in jail indefinitely just because they can. They have arrested 66,000 people in Chicago, ICE has, just since the Midway Blitz. If Bovino's leather coat didn't show you how Nazi they were Calling it the Midway Blitz should tell you everything you fucking need to know. Oh, my God. Oh, by the way, here's a good piece of news. Remember the guy that threw the sandwich at an ICE officer in D.C.? Well, his court case came up, and he was acquitted by a jury of his peers, because of course it was. I saw a fucking video of that ICE officer saying something to the effect of, I could feel it through my bulletproof vest. I was smelling Dijon mustard all day long. It was awful. What a horror. I had nightmares about it. Go fuck yourself, man. Seriously, go fuck yourself. You could fuck right off where Dick Cheney went. Take that how you will. Now, a little bit on Mamdani. Okay, I am super happy that he won. I think that it is an amazing rebuke of not only the Republicans, but also the centrist Dems. You know, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, with his lukewarm, tacit little endorsement 2 days before the election. It don't mean shit. And Chuck Schumer, he's just bitter because he knows that the party has moved on from him. We don't need your permission anymore. I know that big donors throw money your way because, you know, you're the big New York senator. But now those donors might not be coming to you, man, because they see that we don't need your blessing to win. We got people like Graham Plattner. We got people like Zoran Mamdani that are saying the stuff that we've always wanted them to say. It's not the black people. It's not brown people. It's not women. It's not trans people. It's the billionaires. That is the problem with America. If we have a handful of people that can just buy the government, then we don't have a fucking government. Like I said, I'm super excited about Zoran. Loved his speech. It was great. It was strong. It was no weak, tacit little, want to give it up to Andrew Cuomo for fighting a good race. No, he didn't say any of that shit. He says, if we don't hear from him ever again, it'll be too fucking soon. That's the kind of language that we need. But I also want everybody to temper their excitement, not because I don't think Zoran is actually trying and he's not going to try to do the things that he wants. Everybody knows what his platform is. It's like 4 things. And he ran on it religiously. Freezing the rent, child care for all, some municipal grocery stores, and taxing the rich 2%. Very simple. Very easy to understand. And that's one of the reasons why it was so easy for people to go out and vote for him. By the way, the most votes for a mayor since 1969 in New York City, he broke 1 million. He broke 50%. So that angry Long Island Italian guy, it was like, fuck you, Curtis Sliwa, go fuck yourself. You fucking stab Cuomo in the back like Judas did to Jesus. Oh, calm down. Calm down, honey, and tuck in your shirt with your big fat gut. Nobody needs to hear your bitching and complaining. It wouldn't have mattered. He won over 50% of the vote. It wouldn't have mattered if Curtis had dropped out or not. And congratulations to Curtis for not selling out for $10 million like Eric Adams did. But I want you guys to understand that not only is Zoran going to have to deal with Donald Trump, and he's already come out and said some really cool stuff, like, if ICE breaks the law, arrest them. Now, I've heard some on the left go, well, he's made kind of concessions with Tish, who is, by the way, from a multi-millionaire family, the Tish family name. She is the police commissioner, and he's made peace with her. You need to make peace with the police. You have to. If Donald Trump is bringing in a bunch of soldiers and a bunch of fascist Gestapo with guns, you're going to need to have some guns on your side. I'm sorry. Just realistically, you're going to need to have that. So when Zoran's talking about arresting ICE officers for breaking the law, you're going to need cops to do that. But I want you to also keep this in mind. He's got 4 big things that he wants to do. If he manages to get 2 of those things done, I will consider that a huge fucking win. I don't want you to think, oh, well, he only got 2 things done. I don't think that's enough. He's not only fighting the Republicans, he's also fighting centrist Dems who do not want to be replaced by him. Chuck Schumer does not want the party to be going that far to the left. He likes it right where it is, center right. They talk about a big tent, the Democratic establishment, but they don't have a big tent. We take the people in the center and we take people to the center right. That's a very big tent. Are those people on the left? They'll vote for us anyway. Well, it's not proven out to be the case, especially considering that Donald Trump has won 2 times on your bullshit premise that if we slide a little bit to the right, we'll win some center right Republicans. Honey, that dog won't hunt. It didn't hunt 2 times. We got lucky with Joe Biden, and it was immediate backlash in 2024. So Chuck is going to be fighting against Zoran. The centrists are going to be fighting against Zoran. Even the centrists, like the new governor of Virginia, in her acceptance speech, she says, we're a different kind of Democrat. We're not like Zoran kind of Democrat. I mean, she didn't have to say any of that stuff in her fucking acceptance speech, but she did. And keep in mind also, ex-CIA agent, now governor of Virginia. Look, not taking away anything from her. She beat her opponent, I don't know, by like 13, 14 points. She won like 57. He won like 43. So it was a pretty wide spread. That's like 14 points. But whatever the case, she was only running against one person. Zoran was running against 2 people. And he had national recognition. He had the fucking president of the United States trying to interfere in his election. Say what you want about the new governors of New Jersey and Virginia. They did not have the opposition that Zoran did for little old mayor of New York City. So go into this hopeful, do what you can to back up the new mayor, but understand he is fighting really hard against a lot of forces. So just keep that in mind when it seems like it's a struggle, because it's gonna be a struggle. Shifting gears a little bit here. I'm sure you guys have already seen the video. Hell, they had a Saturday Night Live skit on it, which I thought was pretty funny. A cold open on Saturday Night Live about, it was a big pharma executive for Eli Lilly passed out in the Oval Office. And Donald Trump just standing there looking at him on the floor. And then he just turns around and looks back towards camera because he's a fucking TV president and he doesn't know what to do. And then Dr. Oz runs over there to help him. And as Dr. Oz is crossing the room to go pick the guy off the ground, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he fucking cuts out of there. He's like, I don't have the vaccines for that. I don't know what he's got, but I can't catch that. Meanwhile, the guy eats fucking roadkill, but he was scared shitless and he just fucking booked it out of there. I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. And of course, Donald Trump is just mad. He's like, I'm trying to make it look like I'm going to give everybody cheap pharmaceuticals, and then you got to go and pass out and ruin the whole thing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump tried to do a website for these cheaper, quote unquote, cheaper pharmaceuticals where I'm going to lower it 1,200, 1,400%. No, Mr. President, that's not how math works, but okay, dog. And the website that he had created, it crashed a number of times. And that just harkens back to Barack Obama trying to do the ACA at the beginning and his website crashed and all the Republicans gave him so much shit over it. Meanwhile, it's up and operating right now and telling everybody that their health insurance is going to cost 3-4 times what it used to. But Donald Trump is so pissed off about his website, he doesn't really give a shit about the guy passed out on the fucking floor. He lived. He just, I don't know, maybe his blood sugar was low or something like that, but Donald Trump did not handle that very well. And the Saturday Night Live skit was pretty hilarious. What did he say? He goes, every week I try to give a visual representation of what I am doing to the country. Last week, it was tearing down the East Wing. This week, it's this guy here on the floor. Honestly, I don't really care. And don't ask me about ICE. I don't care about that. That's Steven's thing. And I don't really care about the economy, except for all of my rich friends. They came out to my Great Gatsby party. Fuck the pores. I don't care. I don't even like to read, so I have no idea what you're talking about. And no, I haven't seen any other videos about ICE. They haven't gone far enough. So yeah, the guy doing the Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live is way better at the impersonation than I am, and especially considering my voice is absolute dog shit. Okay, moving on, since we mentioned Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is working on this thing called Pegasus. It is a spyware that ICE is using. And, it's like facial recognition. It's some really invasive, crazy ass shit. And Stephen Miller is trying to get that implemented across the country. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Pegasus has got some affiliation with Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's and what's that guy's name? Karp, Alex Karp's baby. And they assure us that we have no danger of them looking into all of our information. This Pegasus thing, it is really, really involved. I mean, facial recognition and purchasing power, anything that's on your computer, anything that's on your cell phone. If they decide to hack into your cell phone, they have access to everything. Every transaction that you do, every social media post, anything. And they can use that against you, which is ultimately what Stephen Miller is trying to do. He is trying to use as much information on you as possible to either shut you up from bitching and complaining. As a matter of fact, there's this one woman in his neighborhood that put up, I believe, a picture of Stephen Miller. It might have been Stephen Miller and his wife as well. Put up a picture of him all around the neighborhood saying that that he's a bastard and we hate him and we got to get rid of him. Not kill, but we got to get rid of him. And they had her arrested. And she won that case. She won the case because she's not breaking the law. What she did was not against the law. It's not against the law to talk shit about your neighbor, even if he is the deputy chief of staff and head fascist in charge at the White House. You can call him whatever you want to. He is a sniveling little tapeworm that needs to go. The guy needs to be locked up in the fucking Hague along with Donald Trump and Russell Vought and all of the rest of the supplicant sycophants that spend most of their waking hours routinely up the president's rectum, cleaning and polishing. They all need to be rocking it out for the rest of their lives in the fucking Hague. And that includes Stephen Miller. Oh, okay. Now, Stephen Miller's wife. Oh, Jesus Christ. Over this past week, while I was sick, I also had a computer crash, and I had a shitload of tabs opened up. And a couple of the tabs were of Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's psychotic, angry for no fucking reason wife. And by the way, a little side note, I used to think that when I listened to Katie Miller, I used to think, God, she sounds so much like Stephen Miller. She talks like him, same inflections. I have come to the realization that it's not she that sounds like Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller sounds like her. He sounds like a bitchy, complaining 14-year-old little girl, complaining that I didn't get the pony or I didn't get the car I wanted on my 16th birthday. He is a bitchy little girl who needs to have an atomic wedgie, that one. But I used to think that she sounded like him. No. He sounds like her. He sounds like his wife. And when I hear her speak, I'm like, oh, those two are perfect together. So Katie Miller, she was on Piers Morgan's tabloid show where he gets a whole bunch of people with differing political opinions on, and they argue and scream at each other, a la wrestling match, a la Jerry Springer style. And Katie Miller was on with Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, and they were going back and forth on each other. He said to her something to the effect of, the Millers are such liars. You guys lie all the time. You and Steven, you lie all the time, and we need to call you out on your bullshit. And she gets all up in arms. She gets all Karen, let me speak to your manager. She literally said to Pierce, I am going to get off of this show if you do not tell him to shut up or kick him off because I don't think it's fair the way he's talking. He called us a liar. That's a Jewish trope. He's calling Jewish people liars. And Jake's like, bitch, I'm talking about you. You and your goddamn Weasley ass little ball-headed fucktard husband. You guys are liars. It's got nothing to do with Jews. You're the one that brought up Jews. And then, of course, there was another guy on the panel who was like, yeah, he didn't say anything about Jews. I don't know what you're talking about. But she was so up her own fucking ass. Man, we are being run by just a group of Karens. They're screaming for the fucking manager. But your daddy, Donald Trump, is the manager. Who are you complaining to? What are you bitching about? You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the Supreme Court, you have the presidency, you have all the fucking power. And yet you are a consummate group of victims that cannot be quelled by any soothing blanket or a goddamn, what do you want me to do? Sing you a little lullaby, Katie? You crying little bitch? Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Just scum of the earth. Scum of the earth. Oh, Elon Musk. He is now the world's first trillionaire. The C-suite of Tesla made a package deal for him. I wrote this down. Tesla shareholders approve a $1 trillion pay package. Meanwhile, we have 600,000 homeless people. 60,000 of them are homeless veterans. 42 million people are without food stamps. But yet a $1 trillion package for Elon Musk. For what? Vaporware? The guy ain't invented shit, man. He didn't invent the fucking Tesla car. He didn't invent space travel. The Hyperloop was vaporware. It was bullshit. Everything that the guy is, I should be paid on my thoughts because I am a genius, and every thought that comes out of my ears is just brilliance in action. Dude, that might work on fucking Joe Rogan because he's a moron. He's a fucking chimpanzee. And you can impress a chimpanzee by doing the, look, I detached my thumb. Isn't that amazing? But to all the rest of us with sentient brains that have IQs over 75, we know that you're full of fucking shit. But anyway, the math, let's do some maths. A $1 trillion package over 10 years is $274 million a day. There should be no billionaires. There should be no fucking billionaires. Soon as you make your $1 billion, you won capitalism. Congratulations. Here is an island for you to go live on with John Galt. Enjoy yourself for the rest of your life, drinking Mai Tais and eating fucking bonbons off the back of your yacht. You are done. You get no more money. And if you make more money, we're taxing you 100%. As a matter of fact, we're taxing you 110%. So you better keep it to $999 million, you greedy fucks. But $274 million a day, what can you buy with $10 billion that you can't buy with $1 billion? A country? Because ultimately, that's what we're looking at. When you have that kind of money, $1 trillion. You are your own economy. You can buy anyone. You can get anything you want from anybody. Your spending power is unmatched. If I'm not mistaken, our entire GDP is like $40 trillion. So out of that, $1 trillion of that is Elon fucking Musk. I got more on that. The bottom 80% of Americans have 7% of the wealth. Not 17, not 70, 7%. So the top 20 have the other 93%. Elon Musk has gotten over $40 billion in government subsidies. He just got a $2 billion deal within the last couple of weeks for another government contract. If he's getting $1 trillion evaluation, he needs to give that government money back. Like I said, he didn't invent space travel. SpaceX, my ass, Go fuck yourself, man. It's NASA. We just call it NASA. Let's just go back to NASA, where it was a national organization. This public-private partnership bullshit where we give the rich and elite tons of government money for them to do fuck all with. Remember he said 15 years ago that in 10 years we're going to be on Mars. That was 17 years ago, man. 17 years. We aren't even close to Jesus Christ, man. I'd be shocked if Elon Musk could get a rocket on the goddamn moon and we've already been there. The bottom 50% of America has 2.5% of the wealth. So the lower half of the country has 2.5%. Meanwhile, the top 1% owns 30% of the wealth. So 1% of this country has a third of our economy wrapped up. If I'm not mistaken, there's like 7 tech companies that are pretty much keeping our stock market afloat. And by the way, the stock market has got nothing to do with Main Street anymore. It's not even remotely close. The only thing it's got to do with is when they fail, we, the taxpayer, have got to bail them out. But if they succeed, they get to keep all the money. Socialism for the rich, rugged individualism for the rest of us, to quote Martin Luther King. But ultimately, that's what we're looking at. The stock market is completely separate from the market that we all live and breathe in. They are just living on essentially the Elysium floating spaceship while the rest of us are scrounging for breadcrumbs. And the handful of Republicans out there that have peasant brain are defending them. And they're screaming and yelling about people getting $6 a day in SNAP benefits. Get the fuck out of here. You guys need to come too, man. Why are you defending billionaires and now trillionaires? You have way more in common. That person who's getting $180 a month in food subsidies, you are way closer on the spectrum to them than you will ever be to the billionaire class. You are not some temporarily disenfranchised future billionaire waiting to happen. It is never going to happen. Get a fucking grip. They're scared of the word redistribution of wealth because whenever it's ever uttered on the news, it's usually by some billionaire who's afraid to pay a little bit more in taxes. Oh, they just want redistribution of wealth. Honey, we have been living in a redistribution of wealth cycle since the fucking 70s. They have been redistributing it from our wallets into their fucking bank accounts. They've got all the money. It was like something like 75, 80 trillion dollars worth of wealth have been transferred from us through our wages and labor since the 70s to now. $75 trillion. We would be making something like, I don't know, $11,000 or $12,000 more a year for the rest of our lives if we distributed that money back to us. There is always wealth redistribution. Always. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, there's always been wealth distribution. It's always happening. The only problem is that it has only been going one way for the last 50 years. And it's been going from the working class to the billionaire class. And we need to flip that script big fucking time. Jesus Christ, $1 trillion. Elon Musk, go suck the biggest bag of dicks. Oh, by the way, since the election, the Republicans have been losing their mind. They are under the impression that they need a course correction on the immigration issue because all the stuff that ICE is doing, it looks real bad, and it's not making them look good. So they need to mitigate that and, maybe have a more humane way of going around and snatching people up off the street. It's like, maybe we should actually follow the laws and stuff and things and, maybe give people due process. Fucking duh, man. What did you think was going to happen? They're so dumb. And they made all these inroads. I think they got like a couple more percentage point in 2024 with black people. And they got something like 10 percentage point more of the Hispanic vote in 2024. Well, now all that shit's gone and it's reversed, and they are doing way worse than they were last year. So now they're kind of hedging their bets, and they're having second thoughts about what ICE is doing. This ain't rocket surgery, honey. You start going after brown people en masse, putting them into concentration camps, whether they be in the country or in a foreign country, without due process. What did you think was going to happen? It blows my mind. It really does. Speaking of ICE, there has been a pretty big uptick of fake ICE officers arresting or detaining or sexually assaulting, physically assaulting people. And yet again, another duh moment. If you can buy a vest on Amazon that says police or ICE on it, and then you and a couple of your bros start going around harassing people and you're not ICE, how are we going to know? How are we supposed to know? They got badges, but they don't have any ID on them. They got their faces covered up, which should be absolutely fucking illegal. They have no warrants on them. They say they don't need it. They just go around checking papers like the goddamn Gestapo. What did you think was going to happen? Of course, there's going to be copycat people that dress up like ICE so they can do nefarious shit dressed as ICE. What are they going to do? The guy's going to call the cops and say, hey, the ICE just came and stuck me up at my convenience store and robbed me blind. You got no fucking ID. They're not legally allowed to walk around with masks and covering up their identification. But since Donald Trump and Stephen Miller have allowed ICE to do just that, you as a citizen, you have no rights. Look, if one group of people is not free, then none of us are free. It's just the way it is. If one group of people does not get due process, then none of us get due process. How quickly can that be turned around and used on you? Oh, you're a citizen, are you? Oh, it would never happen to you. Well, 170 American citizens would beg to differ. And that's just the ones that we know about. What about, y'all remember just a couple of months ago, they just arrested an entire building in Chicago. ICE, or the Border Patrol, came in Black Hawk helicopters, arrested everybody, zip-tied children, half-naked kids, in the middle of the night, threw them in the back of a U-Haul van. That doesn't seem like those Americans, and they were American citizens, they didn't get any due process and they were detained. Now it looks like that building is going to be shut down and all those people are going to be without homes because of what ICE did. Like I said, if one group of us does not have rights, then none of us do, because it can be easily used on you. Pope Leo says everyone will be judged, meaning when they hit the pearly gates. That's if you are a Catholic. But everyone will be judged by how you treated the immigrant. I am an atheist, but I grew up in a Christian household and I have read the Bible. Unfortunately, most Christians have not read the Bible, or at least they've only cherry-picked the parts that they like it was some kind of fucking buffet at Denny's. In the Bible, it says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, of course. Not he who has other gold rules, and that's me. But it also said to be kind to the immigrant and the sojourner. And we are not being very kind to the immigrant. In fact, we are being horrible to the immigrants. And this is a country of fucking immigrants. So Pope Leo is basically calling out J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance is the most prominent Catholic in our government. And Pope Leo's like, dude, y'all fucking up big time. And he ain't wrong. Let's see here. Israeli military lawyers have already come out and said, yeah, we did war crimes. We absolutely did war crimes. And those are Israeli lawyers. I mean, it's not like it's not hard for us to see. They've broken the ceasefire at least a dozen times. The last ceasefire breakage that they did, it's like they're on base, off base. Ceasefire on, ceasefire off. Oh, they were doing something that was scary to us. We killed 100 people. So ceasefire off. We killed 100 people. Okay, now that that's over, ceasefire back on. Now you can't get me. I'm on base. We all knew that the peace deal that Donald Trump was doing was absolute horseshit. Of course it was fucking horseshit. He's the most cucked bitch to Israel I've ever seen. To Sheldon Adelson or Miriam Adelson or Bibi Netanyahu, he is... If Donald Trump has Mike Johnson's nuts in a jar, a mason jar in his medicine cabinet, Bibi Netanyahu has a firm iron grip on Donald Trump's little tiny nuts. He is their bitch. And it does not look like he's going to change his tune whatsoever. He's basically whatever Israel wants to do. If they want to carpet bomb the entirety of the rest of Gaza and lay it to waste and turn it into some fucking beaded glass like Randy Fine wants to do, then Donald Trump will let them do it. He would let them drop a nuke on it and go, hey, what are you going to do? Nuke's got a nuke. Don't get mad at a bomb for blowing up. The day after the election here in New York City, so that Wednesday, they found a swastika had been spray painted on the front door of a synagogue. And immediately, all of the news punditry out there, speculation was that, this is only the beginning. It was because Zoran Mamdani won. Now all of the anti-Semitism is going to rear its ugly head. It's coming, and it's all because of Zoran. Well, they finally released the security footage, and it turns out the guy who did the spray painting was an Orthodox Jew. Yeah. He was wearing the gabardine. He had like the fucking cheese wheel hat, with the beard and the pious and the whole nine. It was a guy like that who did the spray painting of the swastika. So it's like we are so scared of having a democratic socialist Muslim that we are going to fake the funk and do a little false flag thing just so we can sully his name. Turns out the dumbass didn't know that he was on security camera and he got busted. How many times has this happened that it was a false flaggy kind of thing? Look, there is real life anti-Semitism in this country. Without a doubt. There are some psycho neo-Nazis. Just look at Nick fucking Fuentes, man. Those people are straight up Hitlerian anti-Semitic people. They are the worst. They are awful. But when you like fucking Greenblatt of the ADL screams and yells anti-Semitism anytime you ever criticize the Israeli government for being the new Nazis, the new fascists, Netanyahu is the new Hitler. He's just modern day Hitler. Anytime you criticize the Israeli government for doing a genocide, they scream and yell anti-Semitism. And it's not about the Jews. In fact, that idea is more anti-Semitic than my criticism of Israel, because you're conflating Israeli Zionists, which is an ethnic distinction. We're the whites, the Palestinians are the blacks, the browns, we're the purebloods, and they are dirty Muslims. If you criticize them and get called anti-Semitic, then that kind of undercuts actual, real anti-Semitism in this country. It makes Nick Fuentes and his ilk and all of his cadre of psychotic Nazi followers, it gives them permission to go, well, you call everybody anti-Semitic, so, why is my anti-Semitism any different than the criticism that you are constantly giving everybody else? So when Greenblatt of the ADL makes anti-Semitic accusations to people criticizing the Israeli government, he is literally being anti-Semitic by conflating those things. The Israeli government is not the representation for every Jewish person that lives on this planet. Jewish people are Jewish. It's a religion. It is not an ethnic distinction the way that you and Netanyahu want it to be. John Kerry said it best when he was the Secretary of State. He said, you can either be an Israeli state or you can be a democracy. You can't be both. Well, it seems like Israel has made their choice that they want an Israeli state. and every other ethnicity can go kick rocks or go fucking die and starve to death. And I'm sorry, honey, but that's called genocide. You cannot be angry and screaming and yelling about the neo-Nazi party out there praising Hitler. Meanwhile, you're defending modern day Hitler here. Okay, Aunt Lindsay. Okay, Ted Cruz. Bunch of dumbasses. The New York Post said the day before the election that 1 million people will leave New York City if Zoran wins. You know what I say to that? Good. Get the fuck out of here. Bye, Felicia. Rent will go down. More people will have places to live in the city. Bye-bye. Get your fucking ass out of here. By the way, it's all bullshit. They're not going to fucking leave. Bill Ackman, who was screaming and yelling about leaving town if Zoran wins and how horrible and awful it will be the day he won, he put out a fucking tweet saying, hey, congratulations to the mayor, Mamdani, and if he needs any help, let me know. I'll be here. Exactly. There is only one place in this country that scratches that New York itch, and it's New York City. Okay? You think of these people. Now, I don't know if you remember this or not, but during COVID, a lot of people left New York City. They were scared to death. They left New York City. They spent a couple of years out in middle America, and many of them moved back because it's New York City, man. You think the billionaire class is getting that, the Metropolitan Opera fix that they want in Miami, Florida? No. There's no Guggenheim in Nebraska. Look, no offense to Nebraska or Florida or any Midwestern place. They're lovely. They're beautiful people, beautiful states, beautiful country that we live in. But if you're a New Yorker and you're one of the rich billionaire elite out there and you need to have that New York itch scratched, there's only one place for that, and that is right here in this fucking town. You're not going anywhere. So when I hear Stephen A. Smith going, man, I'm scared. Look, Zoran's going to, defund the police and all the rich people are going to leave and then there's not going to be any jobs here. Honey, what jobs did they fucking do? They buy up a shitload of property and then they don't live in it and they sit on it and collect interest on the shit. Little tax shelters everywhere. Give me a break, man. Talk about Amazon moving to town and we need to give them $3 billion in tax abatement so they'll move here. And then we did not do that, not because of AOC, but because the city council said, fuck you, we're not giving you $3 billion in tax abatement. And guess what? Amazon came here anyway. They're here right fucking now. It's because they wanted to. New York City and Washington, D.C. are the biggest hubs. It's where all the money is. The money and the power are in these two cities. So the idea that 1 million people, rich people, are scared shitless and they're going to run out of town because Zoran Mamdani is asking them to pay 2% more in taxes. Go suck a dick, you crying little bitches. Go cry to your goddamn manager, but you ain't going nowhere. Speaking of Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, who used to be on Fox News, he interviewed Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, if you're not familiar with him, is a straight up Hitler-loving Nazi. He has said it openly. I am a fascist. I'm a Nazi. I love Hitler. And the party over the last handful of years has slowly been shifting to the right towards his line of thinking. And Tucker Carlson, which by the way, I don't like this at all, okay? Not happy about any of this. And Tucker Carlson had him on and kind of gave him, a little kid glove interview. They're laughing, they're joking. Both of them are a couple of fascist fucking weasels. One of them happens to be a paleo conservative and the other one is just a fascist conservative. And they're yucking it up and having a good time. And all of a sudden, there is a contingent of Republicans out there like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and, a handful of other quote unquote normal-ish Republicans, they're losing their mind because the Heritage Foundation is a very right-wing group, and it is headed up by this guy named Kevin Roberts. And Kevin Roberts said when he was asked if he was going to disavow Tucker Carlson for bringing on an open white nationalist onto his show and giving him, a little hand job interview, if he was going to disavow Tucker for doing that. And he says no, because we have a big tent party here and we need to be open to ideas. Yeah, fascist ideas, just straight up I love Hitler ideas. Kanye West's most beautiful dream, I love Hitler shit. And he is getting heat from all sides. First of all, Nick Fuentes, it's his party now. Right now, I mean, it's a kind of a toss-up between Donald Trump and Nick Fuentes, because Nick Fuentes is the natural evolution of what the Republican Party was going to be. You have a group of people like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz who hate blacks, who hate the browns, who hate the gays, not big fans of women unless they're at home making babies and making you a sandwich. The only group of people that they have not gone against are Israeli Jewish people. And they don't really give a shit about Jewish people here in America. They really only care about Israel. They are defending modern day Hitler in Netanyahu. And Nick Fuentes is basically saying all the same things that they're saying. He goes, well, I hate the blacks. I hate women. I hate woke. I hate gays. I hate Mexicans. I hate all of those damn dirty immigrants. But I also hate Israel too. And you got people like Candace Owens who are on that train as well. The party is shifting, and they're not standing on ceremony anymore. That ceremony being, we hate everybody except for Israel. Well, now you got Nick Fuentes, whose star is rising in the Republican Party, and he's saying, well, I hate all those people too, but I also hate Israel. And why should we be spending money over there? And they're dirty Jews. You got people like Tucker Carlson that are giving them platforms because they see the writing on the wall. You got Megyn Kelly. She's kind of trying to ride the fence and play that little game too. None of this shit looks good. And the go-to phrase is, let them fight. And I get it, because what does it say in Sun Tzu? If your enemy is making a mistake, don't correct them. Allow them to make that mistake. If you see your enemy is fighting amongst themselves, you don't need to pick a side. Just let them war it out. But the problem is that the Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens wing, they're going to win. They're absolutely going to win this. Ted Cruz and Aunt Lindsey Graham, Miss Thang, their star is waning. Their power is losing ground. You cannot be a straight up racist, fascistic, light group of people and then expect, well, everybody but Israel, because we like Netanyahu and we like having that unmovable aircraft carrier in the Middle East, a la Alexander Haig. We like that. We hate all the people. We hate the wokes and the gays and the women. We hate them all. Hey, Aunt Lindsay, you think that when they get rid of all of the bad gays, they're not going to come after you, honey? Please. You are a little bit too swish for them to let that shit go. But I'm one of the good ones. I was one of the good ones. What are you talking about? It reminds me of Vivek Ramaswamy, who is, look, the ironic thing is that people like me would defend Vivek Ramaswamy's choices in being a Republican. But the Republican base out there, they want you dead, man. You are a brown man. I remember, can't remember her name right now, the skinny Republican pundit, crazy ass bitch, Ann Coulter. She says, I like you, Ramaswamy. I like you very much, but I would never vote for you because you're a brown, dirty Indian. I mean, she said that shit on his podcast, which, by the way, are you a politician or are you a podcaster? Because honestly, I think that all senators and Republican congressmen, they all want to be fucking podcasters. You've got a job. It's a big job. Why don't you fucking do it? Sorry, I digress. But It is the leopards eating face party people that are saying, I can't believe these leopards are eating my face. Honey, you guys have cultivated this. Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, Fox News. They have fashioned this fascist suit. And then people like Donald Trump go, oh my God, this is a perfect fit. Nick Fuentes is sizing it up right now going, I'll just take it in the waist a little bit. It'll fit me just fine. You got people like Ben Shapiro, who used to be the cock of the walk. He was the top dog, the number one conservative pundit out there. And now he's getting dog walked by Candace Owens, who used to work for him. He's getting, verbally smacked in the mouth by Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes is a psychopath. I remember after the election, he put out a post going, your body, my choice. That guy is a lunatic. Talk about another one that needs an atomic wedgie. Oh my God. Why are they always 5 foot nothing, 150 pound victim weight little bitches that I could take out with my left arm? But meanwhile, they're running everything. The worst people are running this country. And their next crop of fascist psycho Nazis, they're even worse. And they're even more pathetic. But for some reason, they have a huge following. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Candace Owens got the biggest podcast in America now. She beat out Joe Rogan. I think she's even bigger than the Midas Touch Network. People watch Candace Owens, and she's a lunatic. But, this is the world we're living in. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because Kevin Roberts, the head of the Heritage Foundation, is they're taking the piss out of him big time. And then, of course, Tucker Carlson. Personally, I think that's going to be the next Republican candidate for president. I don't think it's going to be Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to be J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, he's got no riz whatsoever, man. Got no motion. But Tucker Carlson, he could marshal a lot of people. Now, speaking of J.D. Vance, we got to get to it, okay? I know I've been ranting on for a while now, but I got to talk about this. So, Charlie Kirk's wife, Erika Kirk, who, by the way, I went down a rabbit hole and I started watching some of the videos of, especially that one video 2 days after the assassination where she gets up there and she gives the shittiest acting job. My husband in this chair. And then she would change tone and she'd be like, and all the people that are involved, we're going to go get them. But I love my husband. But we're going to get them. Not only does she look unhinged, but she looks like just a piss poor actor. I've been in stage plays. I've been in a couple of movies. I've done a handful of things. I've been in my fair share of acting classes, but it does not take a good or even a decent actor to be able to pick out bad acting. And she looks like a bad actress. I don't know how old my viewers are, but she reminds me of fucking Tammy Faye Baker dabbing away fake tears off of one cheek. By the way, in that little 15, 17 minute address, about her husband getting assassinated, she was dabbing no tears. There were no tears in her eyes, and she kept dabbing the same fucking cheek. Anyway, she and J.D. Vance had a little moment on stage at a Turning Point USA thing, which, by the way, she now runs. She's the CEO in charge of Turning Point USA. And she was wearing J.D. Vance's favorite outfit, which is a white t-shirt and leather pants, looking like Jennifer Convertible's couch cover. And J.D. Vance had his hand on her hip, and she was giving him a big hug, and she was running her fingers through his hair, something a woman does not do, okay? Women give hugs, either wide with the ass out hug, kind of pat hug, or up under the arm hug, and just a little easy, friendly little hi, and that's it. Maybe a couple of air kisses. That is the extent of a woman giving a hug to a man, especially a married man with his wife in the fucking audience. She grabs a hold of him tight. She runs her fingers through his hair. By the way, far be it from me to judge anybody by the way that they're dressed, but she's got all of these bangles and bracelets and rings on every fucking finger, and her nails are did like a motherfucker. Everybody's screaming about people that are getting SNAP benefits, getting their nails done and then getting their weaves done. But meanwhile, look at this fucking bitch here. All of the jewelry in the world, wearing tight leather pants, running her fingers through a married man's hair, which, by the way, has been pretty much doing Charlie Kirk's job, sitting in on his podcast. You're the fucking vice president, man. What are you doing podcast? Anyway, he's at that turning point thing, and they have that moment on stage, and it looks really not great. I remember when she walked out at the first Charlie Kirk memorial to pyrotechnics. They were shooting off pyro, man. I mean, what woman in mourning looks like that? If I was asked to speak about my husband, I'm not married, but if I was asked to speak about my husband 2 days after he was assassinated, I don't think I'd be able to get through a sentence with that bawling my eyes out. After seeing that carnage, and my husband that I love to death, I would be losing it. I would not be able to give that speech. And if I did, I would have been a blubbering fucking mess. Not one tear. But at that turning point function where, she pretty much dry humped him on stage. And then she introduced him when she goes, "Oh, JD. JD. He reminds me of my husband so much. He's a great man." And his wife, Usha. But boy, JD. And then he came on stage, and then she did the hug and the running the fingers through the hair. And so then JD Vance gets up there and he starts taking questions. He gives a little speech and he starts taking questions. And then somebody asked him about the contradiction of him being Catholic and Christian. And of course, everybody in the audience is a young future Nazi, white nationalist, Christian nationalist. And one young man asked about the contradiction of him being Catholic and his wife being of a different faith. And, that she's Indian, and how can you be married to somebody like that? She's right there in the audience. And he says to them, he's like, "Well, we have differing faiths, but it would be really great if, she found the same faith that I did. It would be really, I think that would be a good thing. And I'm still hopeful that will happen." Right there in public, right in front of God and everybody. No pun intended with the God thing, but after you just got dry humped by a widow of Charlie Kirk who you are filling in for on his fucking podcast, now you're berating your wife in front of her. It is a fucking astonishing. It's mind-boggling. It's amazing. And the funny thing is, there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Kyle Kalinske. He does a show called Secular Talk. If you don't know it, you should check it out. He's fucking brilliant. He's great at his job. But not only is he good at talking politics like I'm doing, his meme game is on point. And man, he pulls no punches on Twitter. And he put up, now he didn't make this meme. Somebody else made it and he just shared it. But he shared a Halloween costume of Erika Kirk, and it said conservative widow costume, where she's wearing a white shirt, she's wearing black leather pants, she's got tears running down her face with mascara running down her cheeks, and she's holding like a hat filled with money spilling out all over the place. And it's like conservative grieving widow costume. And man, everybody came out of the woodwork to take Kyle Kalinske to task. And one of them happened to be it wasn't Randy Fine. It was another douche canoe Republican. I think it was a senator. And he's like, "How dare you say something about a widow like that? That is awful. I would never." And then Kyle Kalinske literally shared his tweet that he put out about the dead Minnesota State House person that was killed by a Republican. And he put out that tweet saying like nightmare on Wall Street because the governor of Minnesota was on the assassination list. And he shared that as like a little joke. The woman died. The state senator fucking died. Tim Walz was on that list. He shot up 4 people, killed 2 of them, and he's making jokes about that. Meanwhile, Kyle puts out a Halloween costume of somebody who is alive, and the Republicans lose their fucking mind. Hypocrisy knows no bounds on the right wing, and you cannot hypocrisy shame them. But Kyle Kulinski posted that and goes, "Shut the fuck up, bitch. You should fucking retire, you cunt." And I was like, oh, hitting him with hardness, boy. Oh my God. It was glorious. It was great. I just wanted to put that out there because I think Erika Kirk, I'm not saying that she was involved in the assassination. I am saying that this has done nothing but improve her profile. Hell, man, she was fucking posting on Instagram pictures of her husband, her dead husband's hand in the open casket. She's fucking Insta posting. I mean, you're a scumbag. That was your husband. You have kids with him. Wow, man. I'm not the kind of person that wants to scream and yell, at the Republicans. Certainly not after something as horrible. And look, I am not a Charlie Kirk fan. I will never defend anything that Charlie Kirk ever said. I didn't want him to get shot. Certainly that not in the most brutal way on fucking television through his neck like that. Jesus Christ, that was wretched. It was fucking horrible. But I have seemed to have more emotional resonance with this than his own goddamn wife. Pyrotechnic leather pants wearing, flirting with husbands publicly on stage, Insta posting from the funeral, you psycho bitch. Tammy Faye Baker, seriously, look her up. My voice is starting to crap out on me. Okay, so there is a Democratic congressman that died earlier this year from Texas. His name is Sylvester Turner. He died, I think it was back in March, I want to say. It was one of the reasons why the big beautiful bill was able to pass, because we have a whole bunch of geriatric Democrats in Congress. And I think it was either 3 or 4 of them kicked the bucket this year. And if they had been alive for the vote for the big beautiful bill, it wouldn't have passed. So yeah, man, let's just keep, re-electing these octogenarians to do the most important jobs. That's just a great idea. If I'm not mistaken, there's one woman who's running for re-election again, and she's got dementia. She's obviously got dementia. This is Dianne Feinstein all over again. Anyway, Sylvester Turner died back in March. They still have not had a special election for that. Greg Abbott is supposed to pick the date for the special election, and he has not done it, which reminds me so much of the Grijalva, who was another older Democrat who died. They did have a special election in which his daughter won. She would be the 218th vote to allow the Jeffrey Epstein files to be reviewed. And of course, Mike Johnson is not allowing that to happen. He's blaming it on the shutdown. But I guarantee you, when the shutdown is over with, he'll find another excuse still not to seat her. They don't believe in democracy. And they're already doing this thing, this tricky baziki thing with Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace, who wants to be governor of South Carolina, who is currently in Congress, she is a psychopath. Now, if you've listened to anything she had to say, you know that she's a fucking psychopath. But she is no different than hardly half of the Republican Party out there. They're all lunatics. She says the same shit. She says derogatory stuff about the trans community all the time, screaming and yelling about, I don't want any trans people in my bathroom. Meanwhile, I don't want to be in a bathroom anywhere near Nancy Mace. She's a fucking lunatic. Well, recently, she went to the airport in South Carolina. I think it was in Charleston. She went to the Charleston airport, and she calls up, I think the police that are at that airport, saying that she wanted to get escorted from her car because she's scared to death that some brown person is going to come and steal her leather bag at 5:30 in the morning when she's taking a flight out of town. And there is video footage of it. She pulls up in a Uber and she gets out. She's by herself. There's nobody there. There's literally nobody on the platform. The only thing in that photo or in that video is her getting out of that Uber and then her walking inside. That's it. And she was so mad because she didn't have the police escort. Turns out that her vehicle showed up late. They were out there before, but she didn't show up there for like another 15 minutes. And the cops at the airport, they actually have jobs to do. They're not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting to escort some piece of shit ass congresswoman. Anyway, she goes on Fox News and she screams and yells about it. Well, it seems like no Democrat likes Nancy Mace, including me. But she's also pissed off a lot of Republicans in the House. And I'm just seeing this thing. I'm just throwing it out there. A little conspiracy from Rantoinette over here. A little conspiracy. But I think that since Nancy Mace is one of the 218 that have voted or will vote to release the Epstein files, there's only a handful of Republicans. And they're all, I think it's Thomas Massie, who's technically a libertarian, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's pissed off because Donald Trump told her no, she can't run for Senate. So she's mad. And she's trying to make a name for herself. Trust me, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not becoming woke, honey. She's mad because Donald Trump told her, no, you can't be senator. You have to stay as a congresswoman. And she doesn't like that. And Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace. Those are the 4 Republicans who will vote to release the Epstein files. Well, the 218th vote would be Grijalva if she is ever seated by Mike Johnson. And I think that they want to get rid of Nancy Mace a la George Santos style so they don't have to have that the 218th vote. I'm just putting it out there. Just a little food for thought for later on. But anyway, Sylvester Turner, who's been dead for 8 months. They still haven't had a special election in Texas, thanks to Hot Wheels Greg Abbott, because Republicans do not believe in democracy whatsoever. I got a couple more here for you. Sam Altman, tech bro, billionaire douche canoe, says when the AI bubble bursts, he's already letting the cat out of the bag that they think that the bubble is going to burst. And of course it's fucking going to burst. It's all vaporware nonsense. Nobody wants AI. No regular person wants AI. You got a handful of people out there going, oh, there's some AI music that I think is great. It's not AI music. It's AI stolen intellectual property. They take other people's shit and they make something out of it. You're not reinventing the wheel. Don't get me started on that. As a musician, as a songwriter, it really fucking frustrates me. Not to mention all of the people's jobs that are going to be lost. It is slop. We all see it slop. I do not need to see Tupac having a rap battle with MLK, man. Nobody needs to see that shit. Nobody wants to see that. I don't need to see Michael Jackson yucking it up with some other dead celebrity in some bullshit ass AI thing. Besides, it's not going to do anybody any goddamn good, because what happens when we find the smoking gun that's able to tie Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein? And he's going to say it's AI, and these people are going to believe him anyway. Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but Sam Altman says that when the AI bubble bursts, that the government is basically the last stop for them, that they are going to bail us out. Now, of course, if you and I went bankrupt, we'd be fucked. But since they basically bought and paid for the government, all the tech bros, they're all hanging out at the White House. When I hear Republican people talking about the dangers of AI, and I'm like, I'm not saying that they're not Democrats on that train, but they're all the tech bro billionaires are all hanging out at the White House. Your Elon Musk, your Mark Zuckerbergs, the head of Google, even Bill fucking Gates, who I know Republicans hate Bill Gates. He's had a couple of trips out to the White House. They're all hanging out there because they want their mergers, their acquisitions. They want their bailouts. They want their government contracts. And here's Sam Altman saying the quiet part out loud. When the economic bubble bursts, the government's going to bail us out. So just be prepared for that. When that economic crash hits and the stock market tanks. And then all of us who are dependent on the government to help us out, which, by the way, it's all fucking falling apart as we speak, we're going to end up having to bail those rich pricks out, and they will end up getting bonuses. Meanwhile, we won't be able to afford our own healthcare. Won't be able to afford our own fucking food. We're bailing out fucking Argentina. Meanwhile, we're cutting food stamps to hungry people. It's just absolutely insanity. Oh, and by the way, I saw this article that Mark Zuckerberg Meta has made $16 billion on scam ads, like ads for fake shit. Stuff that Elizabeth Warren and Lena Khan would have prosecuted him for. Now it's just legal. Donald Trump is pardoning everybody. That 60-minute interview where she was asking about how he pardoned that Binance guy, CZ, and then $2 billion worth of meme coin, or, Trump Liberty International increased their wealth by $2 billion directly because of the pardon. It's mind-boggling to me how fucking corrupt this government is. It literally baffles my mind. And I was having this inner monologue, like, what would I say to my family members who are still on the Trump train? I would say, there's nothing I could say to you. If you were seeing what's going on in this country right now and you are okay with it, there's literally nothing I could say to change your mind. With all of the foreign wars, Donald Trump is not Mr. Peace. He's threatening to bomb everybody. You would be better off counting the countries that Donald Trump doesn't want to bomb. He wants to bomb everybody. He wants to invade everybody. We don't have the Department of Defense. We have the Department of War. He's got Pete Hegseth handling that. He's got Russell Vought handling the economy, just basically stripping everybody of their social safety net. And then Stephen Miller is doing domestic policing of everybody. We got Palantir in the House. We've got AI getting all of the government contracts. Elon Musk is a fucking trillionaire. Some bullshit ass Tesla evaluation and a golden parachute package. Oh, by the way, that $2 billion contract, that was for the fucking Golden Dome. That was part of another one of Donald Trump's flights of fancy that he can slap gold on, like he did with the White House. Everything has got fucking gold leaf on it. Meanwhile, everybody's fucking struggling economically. More homeless people in this country than we've had since the Great Depression. And Donald Trump's throwing fucking parties, saying a little party never hurt anybody. So when I think about having a conversation with my conservative friends and family, and I have some, and they can look at all this and not be up in arms, not see a problem with it, can look at their grocery bill and actively see that it's going up, but they're strangely okay with it, there's really nothing I can say. It's literally got to hit them in the face. It's got to either hit them in the face or in the pocketbook before they would ever change their mind on anything. It's got to affect them personally. I heard Tucker Carlson say this the other day, that he was on Megyn Kelly and he was talking about Dick Cheney dying. And the guy who is right now, currently, paleo-conservative Tucker Carlson, talking about war is bad and we shouldn't be doing these foreign adventures. It's just terrible. We shouldn't be doing it. He would not criticize Dick Cheney for anything except for one thing. He said that if I had been the father of a gay child, and I'm not talking about Liz Cheney because I don't think Liz Cheney is the gay daughter. I think he has a kind of a liberal-leaning gay lesbian daughter. Tucker Carlson said, if I had given birth to a lesbian daughter, I would have killed myself. That was the only critique that he had of Dick Cheney. This is the Republican Party that we're facing. Hypocrisy doesn't work on them. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. It has got to literally hit them in life before they will realize. And there will always be 1/3 of this country that just wants fascism. There will always be 1/3 of this country that it just needs a daddy. I can't think for myself. You think for me. I will hate the same people that you hate. Just point me in a direction and tell me who to hate, and I will do that. There will always be 1/3 of the country that follows that mold. The good news is 2/3 of the country does not agree with that. That means there's way more of us than there are of them. And this 2025 election that just went through in 39 states where the Democrats just waxed that ass, that should be proof to you that there are more of us than there are of them. We just have to stay mobilized. We have to continue building community. We have to continue making inroads. And this whole vote blue no matter who thing, that's out the window now. Because Zoran won the Democratic primary. And the Democratic establishment did not back him up. It's vote blue no matter who if it's my guy. But if it's your guy, you lefty liberal, you far left crazy out there, we're not going to back him. So we were only kidding about that. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi retiring. And then I heard some pundit say, oh, well, even Nancy Pelosi's got to leave because the left has just gone so far to the left. They're so far Marxist. Even Nancy Pelosi had to leave. Dude, she's 85 years old, man. She's retiring because she's an old biddy. And her time has come. What the fuck are you talking about? Psycho? The rules that have been set in place by the Democratic establishment are gone. They're out the window. If you are thinking about running for office and you're on the left, do it. You can do it. We just saw Zoran Mamdani, a very charming Muslim democratic socialist, is now going to be the mayor of the biggest city in the country. You can run for office. Don't be afraid. If you just come out there and say a handful of things, you could probably get away with. There was a guy who made a joke about killing his Republican opponent in an elevator if he had 2 bullets, and Hitler and Pol Pot and his Republican opponent, he said he would put 2 in his Republican opponent. And normally that would be the end of your career politically. He just fucking won. The Republicans' policies and prescriptions are unpopular. They suck ass. And the Democrats have no policies. At least the Republicans actually have policy. Of course, they're all racist, psychotic shit. But the Democrats have nothing. Their only policy is, we're in a big tent, but it's very small, and we have no policy. We're just not Donald Trump. So if you're thinking about running, do it. There's a good chance you can win. We've got Zoran out there. We've got Graham Plattner out there. Graham Plattner, 10 years ago, would never be able to be elected. Now he's the fucking front runner. There's a damn good chance that he is going to unseat Susan Collins. He's got the riz, man. He's got the juice. He's got the motion. And it's all because he just says a handful of things that Americans like. Billionaires suck. The rich need to pay their fucking fair share. We need to stop all these endless wars. We need to come together as a people. Honestly, if you can come out the gate with some marginal stuff like freezing the rent, stopping ICE, taxing the rich, ending wars, if you could just come out with just that, you could get elected. In this climate, the sky's the limit, y'all. Anyway, that's all the voice that I've got. I'm sorry. I'm pretty exhausted. But I will get back on it this week and hopefully have some new shows coming out for you for the rest of the week. If you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it, especially if you made it through this ridiculously long screed that I went through. I had a lot built up inside of me. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to put one more thing out there. Congratulations to Soundgarden for finally getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Y'all deserve it. And Chris Cornell, I could cry right now just thinking about it. One of my favorite singers of all time, and you are missed. You were one of the greatest. Anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to Soundgarden. They're an amazing band. One of my favorites, and they absolutely deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So congratulations to them. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you next time. You take care. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.